Welcome to Burlington College Presents again. I'm Nate Taves. We're at the RETN studios here, and this time we've got two guests, MACK FINLEY and Mary VITTUM. So, hi folks, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Hello. Now, MACK and Mary were both instrumental in a thing called the Recon Soiree, but it's a once a month thing?
It's about once a month. It depends on how the semester's laid out. But yeah, they're a multimedia event. We usually have film, music, poetry, music. Did I already say music?
Yeah.
It repeats.
Yeah, right. Usually more than one musician. And then a lot of times too, we'll have an opening at the gallery at the same time.
Yeah, our last show, don't know if you've seen it or not yet.
I haven't caught it yet.
Okay, well, I'm sure you will at some point. But our last show, our guest was just asked to display at some point her photographs. Ashley LaRose.
Ashley LaRose, yeah.
So you guys might be teaming up in that regard, I guess.
Yeah, I think actually she's going to show a slideshow similar to the one she did here today at the Recon in January.
Okay. And now you usually just do poetry at these things, right?
I've read poetry, poetic essays, and then I've had there have been a couple times when I've had stuff showing in the gallery when I was reading also, paintings.
And Mary also did all the organizing for them for the last academic year.
Yeah, well, I know that you were having some tough times, which we can either get into or not, depending on how you feel.
Oh, no, I took a break from it. You know, I mean, I had been doing it for about a year and was kind of like a little bit burnt on it. And I think people at the school wanted to keep it going, and Mary had already been instrumental in that, and so she helped keep it going, too.
I know you were getting pretty burnt out at one point as well, right? Or several points.
Yeah, I would not say burnt out. No, I mean it was a lot of work,
maybe?
and I was emceeing it, and yeah, you know, like I had a lot going on in the semester, but in general, like I mean, there are a lot of people involved. Peter Curtis is like, I mean, obviously involved in the gallery stuff, but he is also really involved in helping like plan and pull stuff together for the Recon. And Anna as well, and Sarah Mel. Yeah.
And Sarah Mel is Director of Student Services, for those who don't know. Right,
and so those, usually like the day or two that's preceding, it's like a bunch of us are kind of running around and getting everything together, so it's generally not. And I think Mac and I have like switched off and then at different points been both actively people running around, so. Yeah.
Well, I know that you've been ready to run out the door a couple of times, but thankfully didn't.
Well, you know, I mean, it's one of those things. It looks like a casual thing while it's going on, but it takes a fair amount of preparation. And
it's like anything else in life.
Right. Yeah.
Like this show, for example. But anyway, these are once a month, is it, roughly?
Just about, yep.
Yeah, and it's usually the first or second Friday in a month.
We were doing them exclusively on first Fridays, but the community gallery at Burlington College has been used a lot more for a classroom this semester than it has in previous semesters.
Because we're filling up, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and so. And there are a lot of workshops and things like that for Friday night. So it'll fall sometimes on the second or third week.
So
but we try to get flyers and emails and things like that out, you know, a couple of weeks in advance so people know.
Yeah. Now, in addition to Recon Soiree stuff, Mac, you also are the author of a few books, Street Rat from
University of Detroit Mercy Press.
Yep. How about this? I did the titles, you did the the other, the press
Okay.
or the publishing company. Pure Ether Funk.
That was I was working a lot with Mark Audi, who's he writes the arts criticism for 7 Days, and he's also an instructor at Burlington College, and he's done a lot of publication through a thing called the Minimalist Press, and I started a press called Poets Bones Press, and that was the first, like, I did the layout and the production and had the printing done and everything like that. Peter Curtis did the cover photograph for it, and Tom Rocha and Aaron Mitten, who's another Burlington College student, helped me with some of the design things, but it was basically self-published.
Okay. And you also had Harry...
Hairy Engines with Wings, yeah.
Yeah,
That started off as a phrase I used to describe, like, what my poems are, how they work. And that we put out through the Prima Poets Publishing Collective, which was an idea that we hatched to just have poets come together and basically fund their own press. And again, Mark Audi was sort of one
and
of...
that's OPP, or OPPC for short. Right?
No, that's the
else.
new one we're going to
okay.
do. Working with groups of poets is a lot like herding cats. So, right, exactly. So the Prima Poets Collective, for different reasons, just kind of scrambled, and now we've got a different, some of the same people, but a different quorum of people coming together to do sort of the same collective process, and we're going to do, I think, 6 books, right, in the next year, and Mary's involved with that as well.
Okay. Speaking of Mary, sorry for the transition, but there's a poetry machine in Burlington College now.
Yeah.
And you have a couple of books in there, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, I think that one of the poems that I have with me is a poem that's folded into there, Apathetic Limbo. And then I also have a poem in there called Moon Eyes. And that actually is another kind of evolution out of the Minimalist Press. Mark Audi, who is now teaching Guerrilla Press, Small Press, something like that. I don't remember what it's called.
Guerrilla and Small Press Marketing. Yeah.
There you go. He, being a part of the Minimalist Press, they had taken an old cigarette machine and turned it into a poetry machine, and I think they had a bunch of other strange vending machines around also, and we acquired it, MACK acquired it more than we did, and we were going to put it in, well, we did put it in Prima, but it
just had a tablecloth over it.
Yeah, it had a veil, it was never unveiled, so as the class started, we moved it into the school, and then there are a bunch of poems from the Minimalist Poets, and then there are poems from MACK, and then Aaron Mitten, who we were just talking about, who's also a student, and Aaron Paul, who is also, and I don't know if does Corey have one in there yet?
Yeah, Corey Lavelle has an essay called Stoned Alone.
Yeah, and then Mark certainly has some, and then actually Sarah, the Director of Student Services, also has a poem in there. We're trying to get more people to put poems in there. I think they're like 50 cents for a folding book.
Yes, they are, because I've lost $2 trying to get your stuff.
Really? I
can
fix that.
They have to, it's a really old cigarette machine, and obviously you can't get them serviced, and it's sort of internally rigged.
Yeah.
And you have to have them on these blocks of wood and rubber banded, and sometimes there's a problem with it dropping, but.
Because poems are not shaped like cigarettes.
The last time I went to go do that, it's funny, as I said, I lost about $2. I went and I put the coins in, and I tried Sarah Mills first. Didn't get a hold of anything, but the arm, I guess you'd call it, for that particular book went back in. And then I tried Mary's, and one of the arms got stuck.
Oh, really? Well, Mark and I just reworked it, so you should be able to. Well, I'll pull it apart and get you 4 freebies.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And then I'll give you the 50 cents for yours.
Mark had a refund policy for it. That was, if you left $1.50 plus money for postage in his mailbox at the school, he would mail you your 50-cent refund.
Yeah, no, I just put a note in his mailbox saying I lost $2.
Well, that'll probably work
gambling on
too.
this stuff, and
Yeah.
gave it back to me in change. Sounds like a joke, but it's true. So, Mac, you are going for. Sorry to keep jumping back to.
No worries.
You are going for a paralegal certificate and trying to continue with your BA after that?
Yeah, one of the constraints of being an artist or living in America right now is the economic factors we're all facing, and so I have to sort of expedite the ability to get some kind of income. So there's a paralegal program at Burlington College run by Sandy Baird, and I'm going to get an associate certificate there and then finish up with writing and literature, and then keep with the long-term plan of hopefully teaching literature either in my hometown of Detroit or my adopted hometown of New Orleans, whichever has more need whenever I finally
get out of here. Sandy Baird, for those who don't know, is a lawyer, a politician, several other hats that she says that she has, as well as a teacher at Burlington College.
Who doesn't know Sandy Baird?
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
who doesn't know? If you're at the school, pretty much everybody. Pardon me, dropping my ad libs. Mary, just so we can introduce your stuff here as well. You're majoring in writing and lit. I know that you also did audio and its production classes as well, and we're on kind of a guided independent study through that, weren't you?
Yeah, I did. Well, I had a specific guided independent study that was, I think the name of it was Experimenting Sound or Experiments in Sound. And the idea was taking poetry and spoken word and combining that with audio recordings, both like for the purpose of mixing beats and sounds behind the poems in order to like accompany and sort of give it a different personality than it has when you just like read it or see it on the page. Most of my poetry is fairly sound oriented versus like it sounds better to read it aloud than it does to look at it on the page, and or at least that's how I feel, and that's how I like it, and so.
Both of you are performance artists, right? Poetry, roughly.
I think there's a sound element to a lot of my poetry, but I look at it graphically too. I think Mary's poetry on the page is graphically interesting, and I think it can be read, but there's an internal music that happens, and I think one of the things that's emerged in poetry in the last 15 to 20 years is sort of a